All right, welcome back everybody to Gallery Baird. My name is Liz.
I'm Vanessa.
And this is episode 3 of Cocktails with the Curators. And for the very first time tonight, we have a special guest with us, which we are very, very excited to have join us. So before I introduce you to them, we are going to be looking at the artwork of Lucinda Walker tonight. She is our current featured artist on the Gallery Baird page and website for January 2021. And we've had the lovely, incomparable, extremely talented Renee from Brooklyn joining us tonight. And Renee has paired a cocktail with one of Lucinda's pieces. So welcome, Renee. We're very excited to have you.
Hey folks, flyer will get you everywhere, especially when you're dealing with a bartender.
So do you want to just introduce yourself briefly, like tell us a little bit about yourself, where you've worked, things of that nature?
Of course. So my name is Renee, originally from the Dominican Republic. I migrated to the US a little while ago. And I've been very much, it's going to follow like the consistency of the cocktail, my coming up with it in comparison with the inspiration from the artwork from Lucinda Walker. But I had the pleasure of working for Lama Inn and also Burano. And those are the really two big places that I'm drawing a lot of like inspiration for this piece.
Yeah, Renee and I had the pleasure of working together at Burano, and when you sent this cocktail, I was like, I see elements of both Burano and Llama in this. So I genuinely have no idea what this is gonna taste like.
It's gonna taste like goodness. Oh my
I'm
God.
sure it's going to. I'm sure it's gonna taste absolutely amazing. So quickly, I'm just going to screen share so that people can see the artwork that we're gonna pair it with, and then we'll just get right into making the cocktail. All right, so this is The Way Home by Lucinda Walker. I believe it is a quilt textile work. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vanessa.
Yeah, so it's 7 by 5, so it's just a little tiny guy,
Okay.
but it is sewn fabric.
Cool. So we'll circle back to this when we kind of have a bigger conversation about the actual piece. Now Renee is going to walk us through making this cocktail.
Of course. So this cocktail was aptly named the Fertility Tribe of the fertility base of the Ndebele tribe. After we were doing a Mean Girls inspired bout of cocktails at Burano. We're going to be using Pisco. We're also going to be using Aguardiente, and we're going to be using fresh passion fruit, a Quinoa Orgeat, and a simple syrup.
Okay.
That are different spices.
So I feel like Pisco isn't a spirit that a lot of people are going to be familiar with. I had never heard of it before I moved to the city and found myself drinking way too many Pisco sours one night.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Pisco and Aguardiente?
Totally. So Pisco comes from Peru. It is made out of any combination or singularity of 6 grapes. And it's a fermented grape variant spirit. It can have a floral note to it. It can have a very licoricey note to it, super minty as well. This guy is a Mosto Verde, which means that during fermentation, there's a green moss, and they cut fermentation and we're able to drain it from the moss itself without letting it clear out naturally. So it has more of a floral botanical taste, a little bit kind of like gin, but not super junipery. It's a little more like lifter, a little more fresh. And then aguardiente, like a lot of different spirits, it comes from sugarcane, but it comes specifically from Colombia.
Okay.
And Cumbé itself, what I really like about them, the flavor of the aguardiente comes from the anise star, which they use. As well as this specific aguardiente is fermented in Colombia oak barrels. So the flavor and the actual like aroma, you can actually whiff, like take a little whiff.
Yeah.
It's just super palatable. I always think Christmas.
I get very strong licorice notes.
Licoricey, anise star, clove, very spiced, nutmeggy a little. Super interesting and dark and a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
And then to simulate, when I see the Lucinda Walker like work of art, I also see a lot of texture. So we made a Quinoa Orgeat, super simple, throw some quinoa in a pan, let it get some color, use white quinoa, let it get really toasted and roasted, throw it in a blender with oat milk, blend it all together, strain it through a cheesecloth, and then add equal parts of white cane sugar. You're good to go. Super delish, can be done in any drink to like lift it up and make it more nutty. And then we're also using a simple syrup made out of anise star. It's going to have clove as well, cinnamon, and dill. So you're just going to go ahead and throw a decent amount, like a tablespoon of clove, a tablespoon of anise star, a couple cinnamon sticks, and 2 sticks of fresh dill. And then use a quart of hot water and a quart of sugar to make just a little bit of the simple syrup. Let it rest for an hour, then strain it. You're going to have, if you smell it, it gives you like a little bit of like a tea aspect to it.
I love the way this smells personally.
Yeah,
it's so good. And of course, the passion fruit. The passion fruit is the thing that's gonna make it really like zippy and give it a little bit of that acid that we want. And you can use fresh passion fruit if you have the ability to do so. There's also passion fruit puree that you can get from Amazon. Every ingredient that I've used, you can go to a store and support local business, especially in current times. Totally like urge you to do that. But even though Amazon is kind of like the devil, super easy and 2-day shipping, girl. Yes. So let's get into the cocktail. Okay, so I'm using like a little shot glass. It's 2 ounces in measure. You can use whatever if you're most comfortable. You can also eyeball it. I feel like we should get comfortable with cocktails being a little bit like coffee. You can make it as strong, as diluted, add as much creamer as a little as you want.
Okay, so we're doing 2 ounces of Pisco?
We're doing 1.5 ounces of Pisco. Then we're going to go ahead and use 3/4 of an ounce of aguardiente.
Okay.
Then for the passion fruit, we are going to use 1 ounce. If you have the ability to get fresh passion fruit, just 1 passion fruit itself, scoop it out, drop the puree in it, and that's all you need. With your jarre, you can make it as creamy as you want to. I'm gonna do 1 ounce.
Okay.
You can do 3/4, you can do 1/2, depends how rich you want the cocktail to be. Try it out, experiment with it, make different versions of it. Nobody has to know.
And see how that turns.
And then we're using just 1/2 ounce of the simple syrup because we already have some sugar in the orgeat. We don't want to overwhelm the drink either. If you want to make it a little bit more zippy and just a tad bit more easy to go down the palate, I would also urge you to go ahead and squeeze 1/2 a lemon into it, or a lemon.
Okay.
And we're going to go ahead and give it a shake.
Renee, how long do you recommend shaking a cocktail for?
So a cocktail, you should totally shake it for about 7 Mississippis.
Okay.
Not too long. You want just the right amount of dilution to it. You don't want to shake it so long that everything goes a little bit flat. So just a little goes a long way. You also want to go ahead and go from your shoulders. So
So up here.
you want to go ahead, feel it right here.
Yep.
1 hand on the end, 1 hand at the bottom. Use your right hand for the top and your left hand for the bottom. And then you want to rotate. That's a very sturdy, very simple, very secure shake. You can do a little bit of a jazz. You can do a little bit of like a 1 hand if you want to make it spicy. It depends on your flow, but a nice double-handed, not pun intended, robust shake does the job.
Fun.
And when you're ready to strain, your drink should look like this little baby. So when you're straining, notice the color is going to look like a melted creamsicle almost like straight up orange juice with carnation milk, which is also great if you haven't had it.
I've not had it. Trying to get my
Oh,
shaker open.
you need to change. It's gonna change your life.
Okay, there we go.
So
Alright.
give it a little whiff. You can already like smell how everything is super together. You can totally tell the richness. There's not a super naughty smell to it. It's nice and fragrant. Let's go ahead and give a little sip. Cheers, folks.
Cheers.
Salud.
I love that.
Yeah, that's
It's
really
so good.
good.
And I never ever would have
Yeah.
together, but it's so good. And I love the creaminess. I love the passion fruit. Yeah.
It's just delicious because normally when you think of simple syrups and orgeat, you're like, oh my God, it's going to be so thick and sweet. And the lovely thing is that if you really just take your time and roast everything and let everything sip and simmer so it can get the full flavor, it's going to balance out lovely. Like at the end, you can almost taste like a whiff of the drink. It dissipates on your palate and it's just begging for you to chug it. It's a chuggable drink, so be careful.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like already like envisioning myself on a rooftop in summertime. This drink is everything.
Topless. Oh, it's very that. It's very, very that. And also you don't have to feel like super, because again, there's like a lot going on and folks might be a little weary. It's like, oh, I don't want to spend all of this money and go out of my way to get all these products for like one drink. And honestly, these two liquors are super versatile. You can do a classic sour and do lime, lemon, a little bit of simple syrup and an egg white and shake it. You can also just do a margarita like style cocktail. A little bit of orange if you don't have Cointreau, but Cointreau, lime juice, simple syrup, a little bit of this, and you're good to go. You can also just throw it in a Coke and chase it, or sip it on the rocks. The Mosto Verde and the Aguardiente are honestly so nice on the tongue with a little bit of ice. They're lovely.
This drink is absolutely lovely. So, and also I did want to say we will post the entire ingredient and all the specs so that people can make this at home. So if you have never heard of orgeat, fear not. Vanessa and I both made it this week and it was really pretty simple. So.
Yeah, it was fairly easy.
Yeah. So now I kind of want to shift us into talking about how you came to pair this cocktail with this piece of art, kind of what made you choose this piece of art, what spoke to you. So I realized I just asked you like 8 different questions. So I'm going to
weave them together.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. So I just want to first ask, what out of all the different work that we are showing from Lucinda this month, what was it about this piece that really spoke to you?
I like the segmentation of it, and I like the coolness of it. I'm a weirdo. I like whenever I'm a night owl, I have inverse seasonal depression. Like the summer months are like, okay, I guess, but winter is really my jam. So whenever I see something that may just look black and white or very like monochromatic, I love to see the detail in it, and I love to see the jarring lines. I love to see the different size and the different structures, the different patterns by breaking patterns, how pillowy and how like rich it looks. And so I was just thinking of that and something that like resonated with comfort around like my craft and my life and what I do. And so it like immediately triggered me to alcohol, which raises some bells, but hey, there's reasons why people become bartenders. But aguardiente is like something that I used to drink in high school. We would have open house parties. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been to an open house party in like high school where someone's dad is like away. They're like, oh, nobody's got my crib. Did you want to come through? Like we have some for locals and some aguardiente. So that was like my experience.
It's a little different. Usually you're in someone's backyard, but
Okay. As long as there's like a correlation, but like this just reminds me of my high school experience. I
Mhm.
also had a great GPA, don't judge. Um, and then this Pisco in specific, Mosto Verde, I love a floral note. I love um, a very delicate palette, which I also feel goes really well with this piece, which you don't think really delicate, but the idea of by hand needling everything through and actually cutting the fabric and stitching it together and you yourself working with it and having the time and the patience of it, I always chalk it up to something like very soft and very caring. So the floral notes, the childhood like comfort aspect and just how rich it looked, it just made me think of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen just because I want people to be able to see us, but I can always reference back to the photo. But I mean, when I look at it and I see the title "The Way Home," like it almost looks like an aerial view of a street, and all the little segmentations and lines. They're like streets that you walk down in your neighborhood, or like it's a little alleyway, and the little plots are people's homes. So I definitely get that vibe from it. Vanessa, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I'm just I'm agreeing with you guys. I definitely see the kind of not so neat street lines, and like housing plots kind of simplified down. And that totally relates to the whole way home. And I love that you picked up on that, Renee, for your cocktail and thinking about, your home and cocktails, and with this piece being also titled The Way Home. Um, I love in this image particularly because with digital images, sometimes it's hard to see textures, but you can really see the textures and like that pilloiness, I think that you were talking about, in the fabric itself. And I think that that's really great, quality. I love the textileness, the texturiness of it.
Yeah. And even just having like the slightest, like I used a little bit less of the orgeat than what the recipe called for. Um, but there I just get like a really subtle like note of creaminess from that and nuttiness, and like I don't know, I wouldn't have necessarily correlated that with this image, but like after hearing you guys talk, I'm like, oh yeah, like the pillowiness, I see that.
One of the questions we had asked Lucinda was about like where she brought or she drew her inspiration from, and her first couple of sentences I'll just quote is, "I'm continually inspired by just being in the world, settings, places, landscapes, feeling plays of light, the sky." And so it's just really interesting that we're all picking up on like those train tracks and those street view kind of lines and that sort of thing, when she's also thinking of those landscapes and plots and that kind of the kind of thing. So
And Lucinda is, living in Amsterdam right now, but she's from California, so home is kind of a contentious topic, I guess. And we're all kind of in, I mean, I'm sure everyone in the world right now is kind of in a weird relationship to what home is. Like we're all in different parts of the country, and I'm in my hometown, but it's weird to say the least. And Renee, you started out by saying that you're originally from the Dominican Republic. Vanessa is out in Seattle, so it's like we're all picking up on I just think it's interesting that we chose this piece, all picking up on this idea of home and what it means.
I
yeah,
also
I
love
think,
the idea of home being in snapshots too, where like
Mhm.
there's home to be said about where you come from in your hometown, but also home where you live, and having homey moments out of state or out of a country and be like, oh, I can definitely see myself like being here or cozying up here. And it's again contentious to your point, where it's like, is home where the heart is, or is home where like your experiences are? Like what exactly is home, and do you feel it, or is it more of a physical like structure? So I feel like the intentionality of the piece also speaks volumes to that as well.
Yeah. So we hope you guys have enjoyed learning to make this delicious cocktail. Renee, can you tell us the name one more time?
the fertility vase of the Ndebele tribe.
So if
Cheers
you're
to the
watching,
babies made after this.
so if you're watching Mean Girls, make yourself one of these. If you want to look at Lucinda Walker's art, make one of these. If you just want to have one, just make one of these. We will post all of the instructions. And of course, you can always refer back to this video to watch us make it step by step. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, Renee, for joining us. We're so glad to have a guest bartender here to learn from and make delicious cocktails with. So
Thank
we
you for
will,
having me.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
So we will be back in a couple months with more cocktails for you. But thank you so much for watching. And I guess that's gonna do it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.